This is psychiatrists. Yep, I knew that one. All right, let's get started. What? The music is still. Yeah, I know. I can hear it, Lynn. Um, Mental disorders and neurological disturbances. This problem has certainly been one of the thorniest that neuropsychiatrists have had to ponder over the last 20 years. This problem, though foreseen the previous centuries, had yet to take on its character as a stumbling block of doctrines. The responsibility for this is to be found in today's very powerful urgency towards specialization and thus towards boundaries. What are the respective limits of neurology and of psychiatry? What is the neurologist? What is a neurologist? What is a psychiatrist? In such a situation, what then becomes of the neuropsychiatrists? Far from proposing a solution, I believe a life of study and observation is required. I would like to relate the most representative position of current doctrines in France, Henry I. and Jacqueline Leconte, and abroad, Kurt Goldstein. God, every time I try to read, I try to have to burp. It should be added that IE is situated in a Jacksonian heritage, and that Goldstein, who has multiple points in common with Monacoa and Morgue, finds in Aguilera Guerrera an exponent worthy of him. It seems to me that this clarificatorio, clarificatory, whoa, that's a weird word. Clarifactory exercises would not be in vain. First, it can only help us to take a theoretical position as regards the object of neuropsychiatry. Also, this study assumes a valuable and the particular framework of this work, since it is astutely unclear to what the psychic disorders encounter in spinocerebellar and degeneration are to be related. Heinrich Ellie's position. Heinrich Ellie's is unquestionably the most powerful of heads of schools. His numerous works, his preparatory lectures for the medical exams, and his consultation have made him a real figurehead. I will obviously provide a very systematic, Fanon probably meant to write schematic overview of his thoughts. May the author pardon me. However, I will attempt to formulate some clear ideas that are nonetheless not unsuited to the spirit of the doctor from Bonneville. According to EY, the hi Baba. The nervous system is divided into two planes. One, the plane of elementary or instrumental sensorimotor and psychic functions. Reflex apparatus of the coordination of movements and regulation of tonus of walking. He's looking at me. And two, the plane of higher energetic psychic functions, i.e., remembering, judging, believing, loving. The instrumental functions are especially are more. Hold on.
The first word was specifically.
Specifically and morphologically, I think morphologically inscribed in the brain. The main focus in studying them is the morphological and spatial genesis of the nervous function of relational life, as ordered with respect to the notion of cerebral localization, and functional apparatuses. The energetic functions are more personal and plastic modes of activity. The main focus in studying them is the historical and chronological genesis of the psychological levels of relational life, set in order by the notion of psychological tension. Concerning the pathological side of things, we rediscover both these planes. One, pathology of the instrumental functional plane, represented by functional and local disintegration. At this level, an extremely important element is situated, the localization of the disorder. We shall see that things are not the same with global disillusions. The characters of functional disintegration are as follows. These disintegrations are partial. Okay, here we go. Hemiplegia. Okay. Aphasia. I must be doing good. And these disintegration. I did the aphasia right then. Disintegration are no, it's okay. Are basal or basal. How otherwise put, they leave the overall and higher edifice intact. For as EY says, aphasia in its most typical form. Oh my gosh. Chorea, hematremor, Parkinson's disease, all just disturbed, but do not alter in itself and by themselves the subject's consciousness, judgment, or social activity. And go take one. Number two, pathology and the energetic functional plane. The localization is not possible here because the disintegration have an essentially global character. The personality of the whole participates in the disease. Hence the second notion, the dissolution of the apacal nature. Apacal. Which two things? I kind of understand. I.e. proposes that we can call neurology and science of the instrumental plane, the psychiatry, the science of the energetic plane. These 2 points, which i.e. EY formulated during the colloquium, colloquium, colloquium. Let's go find out what that word means. What's up, Dutch? Welcome in. COLLOQUIUM. Do I have you down too long? Yes, I have you down.
Colloquium.
I did it right. Yeah. Formally academic meeting where experts and scholars gather to present research, share ideas, and discuss a specific topic. In Bonneval in 1942 continued the doctoral trajectory of their author. 15 years ago, EY in Ruart, R-U-A-R-T, laid the first foundation for the organo-dynamist conception of neuropsychiatry, taking up Hugeling's Jackson's theoretical idea. They laid down the factor behind the mental illness, so finely studied by the English neurologist. A different sort of wildness being the proper object of psychiatry, it is important, Jackson says, to distinguish 4 original factors. A, the different depths of disillusion of the higher cerebral centers. B, the different persons who have suffered this disillusion. C, the different speeds at which the disillusion occurs. And D, the influence of the different bodily states and different external circumstances on the people who have suffered such disillusions. Next to these, Jackson's placed local disillusions, which are the object of neurology. The aim that here is not to reprise the Jacksonian account in detail. It is known that the curve of disillusion extends from illusion and abnormal emotional states, all the way to dementia, from the dream to schizophrenia via the epileptic fit. EY's doctrine retains Jackson's fundamental elements, namely evolution hierarchies of functions, dissolutions. These 3 points represent the infrastructure of a key phenomenon, integration. The pathology that introduces disintegration permits the emergence of negative signs caused by these disease, properly speaking, and of positive signs, the remaining personality. EY ultimately thinks that the distinction between global and partial dissolution corresponds to the only possible distinctions between the object of neurology and that of psychiatry. This phrase is indicative of EY's thought. Jackson's investiged the dialectics of the human being and world, i.e., through the structural dynamism that he introduced, tries to formulate the major lines of the dialectic of the human being and thought. The neurological consists in that which is localizable, spatial, instrumental, and elementary. Oh, I didn't say and, sorry. The psychiatric in that which is localizable, historical, global, synthetic. Psychiatric life is not psychic life. A mental illness admits no psychic causality. An organic dynamism lies at the basis of psychosis, and says the author in his Catechism of Jacksonism. Sorry, the dynamic conception of mental disorders entirely based on the notion of a dissolution of functions demands the tying of structural levels to organic disorders, which necessarily condition both slight neurotic dissolutions as well as confusional delirious states, dementia, etc. The trying of states, syndromes, structural levels, or psychosis to etiological organic processes as the ultimate end of the medical science called psychiatry. The neurological is the partial level, the psychiatric is the global level. After having determined the lower limits of psychiatry, EY tries to make its upper limits explicit. What is posed here is the entire problem of psychic causality as a mental illness, psychosis, or neurosis of psychic organs, or does it necessarily receive an organic conditioning? In the case of the coexistence of neurological disorders and mental disorders, it is a matter of personal reactions to psychic inflation, or more, we quite simply admit an extension of lesions in the encephalon. I don't know. I'm gonna look at this word. I think we had it one time.
Encephalon?
Maybe.
All right, Lynn. This is when you're needed.
They don't know how to say it's fine too.
Encephalon.
Yeah, encephalon. You got it right. The technical and medical symptoms of the brain.
Encephalon.
Encephalon. Mental disorders do not have a psychic causality, such as EY's first doctoral statement, preempting his adversaries who might be inclined.
Adversaries.
Adversaries. Who might be inclined to waive physically conditioned psychoneurosis for his eyes. The author takes up the insistence of that violent emotion through which the hair turns white. This symptom, he says, must be related not to the emotion, which is the incidental psychogenetic aspect, but to the deeper endocrine disruption. After dismissing the theory according to which emotion is the basis of pathology, the author successively considered the 3 other psychogeneticists schools, whose masters are I can't say, Krenchemer, Freud, and Bonbaskia. Banbasky. The
But
former well the former well studied is Lacan's dissertation, conceives this illusion as an reaction of the consciousness that is sensitized to the vital situation into which it is plunged. The Freudian perspective overlaps with the previous one by going beyond it, where Kretschmer's, a psychiatrist, attaches a fundamental importance to predispositions, to the constitution. Freud refutes them. Much later, in the wake of the sometimes malevolent, I can't say it,
malevolent.
I was trying. Malevolent. See? Malevolent. Criticism of his.
Malevolent.
Yes, I can't say it. I said I couldn't say it. my lips won't let me say it. Sorry. Criticisms of his adversaries. The Viennese masters recognized the inefficiency of heredity, of of predisposition. The notion of terrain was born. IY approached Krenschmer for limiting psychic causality to the idea of constitution. Moreover, he finds in the development of schizophrenic disassociation into dementia an argument in favor of his criticism. If dementia occurs, it is because the organic lesions must have occurred at some point. As for Bambaskia, EY, by turning him into a dualist, denies his doctrine has any value. We know the importance that suggestions take on a Bambaski system. The plane of the idea characterizes the mental illness. That is, when all is said and done. Oh my gosh. Pythatism. I'm going to look this up too. I couldn't say the word, Joe, that's why. I'm being honest. My lips wouldn't let me say it. Are you there? Hello? Am I by myself again?
No, I'm here. Sorry, I was trying to type something. No, yeah, no, I understand.
Like sometimes I just can't say the damn words. Like my I don't have the muscle memory, I guess. A form of wildness or functional disorder that can be included by suggesting a cure through persuasion or counter suggestions. Now we need a pronunciation, which most likely will be. I don't want the definition. Why are we doing the definition? Yes. Now that you come in, already I got the video going.
Patriotism.
Good job, Glenn. However, does not fit. It's whatever does not fit. It springs from localizable neurological processes. This puts the core of Freudian doctrine into question. Psychic trauma is merely an outmoded monument, the architecture of which does not indicate the use its works intended for it. Infantile regression is presented as a literary cliche. For EY, every geneticist and dynamist theory of psychic activity leads to the notion of normal psychogenesis and repudiates that of pathological psychogenesis. Oh wait, I think I did both. This means that psychogenetic activity is a normal free activity, and thus we see that psychiatric side dilemma deflated. Although on the one hand, the psychogeneticist theory, which sees mental illness as an exclusively psychic creation, on the other, the mechanistic theory, which situates mental illness on the localized region of the brain. This illusion is the product of excitement, nervous cells. The author rejects both spiritualist dualism and materialist monoism. We simultaneously repudiate dualism, which separates too much, and monoism, which does not separate enough. I.e., entire position could reside in this petition. Between the physical and the moral, there is life. EY refuses to choose between the physical and the mental, between mind and body. For him, mental life is rooted in organic life, from which it draws nourishment, which it uses, integrates, and as a result, goes beyond. Speaking of the psyche, the author, who moreover utilizes the conclusion of diverse schools of thought, writes, quote, the structural whole that psychology and psychopathology could come to deal with got built up little by little in the psyche. We ought to distinguish between the given and the taken, the passive and the active. We should also bear in mind both character and affectivity in close relations with the instrumental functions, sensory, mesic, and verbal qualities proper to each individual. EY calls this part of the psychic trajectory. In this trajectory, the field to be traversed is precisely the psychic field. The psychic field refers naturally to psychic life, which is by no means endowed by immutability. It oscillates between disinterests for the outside world and the present, and in its most attentive and efficient form, supreme adaptation to the present and the real. This sentence clearly owes a lot to Janet's research. For that matter, EY acknowledges the influence of the theoreticians and the psychological tensions on the direction of this thought. Psychogenesis is the norm. This position amidst a corollary mental illness involves organogenesis and psychiatry, refusing any value to the concept of pathological psychogenesis, reserves itself a domain of study with no relations to that of freedom. But then, what difference can there be between schizophrenia and general paralysis, an illness? EY says, if it is always organic, it is ideology is always psychic, and it is pathogeny. It is a mental alteration of organic nature. What is the master of Bonneville's position in the particular case of interest to us? That the mental disorder found in spinocerebellar and degeneration ought not to be understood as a reaction of the personality to the inferiorizing situation, any more than they ought to be reduced to a production of a valorizing unconscious character modification and personality disorders occurring in relations to the disease in questions, organic alterations, at whatever level they are situated. This paper is what? Is complem? I don't think you finished this. Research. Yeah, because this is back in the 50s. What are you talking about? They're in Frantz Fanon's time. And they're critiquing the people that came up with some of the things too. You know what I mean? The hormone, the HORME, which is French, I think. School of the Gestalt. School bear a point of differences. This difference is that the reflexive act of Monokoe and Morgul held to be a metameric reaction becomes with Goldstein a total reaction of the organism. For Goldstein says it is inadmissible that one part is capable of a reaction without having the other parts participate in it. There is no such thing as primitive functions on the one hand and higher functions on the other hand. On the other, every gesture, every function presumes the collaboration of the entire individual. Patients at CH suffering an occipital lesion. Occipital lesion. How do you say the word? Occipital lesions. Yeah. Well, it's not what they say in the text. Had both. Oh my gosh, I don't know this one either. Calocarinus. Calcerines destroyed. Goldstein's and his collaborator, Guild, after making meticulous observation, showed that this case by no means presented any occurrences of aphasia, a word so easily advanced, but instead an inability to put oneself in a certain attitude, they offer this disorder to a collapse of categorical symbolism. When the core of the problem that splits contemporary neurologists is analyzed, and the only real point of contention remains cerebral localization, but beyond the desires to localize or not, it is imperative to recognize the deeper question of mind-body relations. To the superficial mind, it might seem that the mass of publications and systems that have been updated over the last 50 years indicate an vow of impotence more than an effective progress. Similarly, skepticism is in therapy towards the great number of inoffensive specialities for diseases is taken hold of more and more doctors, and by induction of the general public. It must be said that beyond all discouragement, only impassioned and often adherent research will allow us to raise some hope around the organization of madness. Hope for what Leconte has called a logic of wildness. Goldstein took up Manacoa and Morgu's work and tried to give it a scientific value. The success of Gestalt theory around the world shows that he did not fail. He did not fail. Let us quickly go over the various points that the author develops in the introduction, and it's a whole big French word. It will also, I will also make us of isolated work by C.V. Manacoa that situate the system, I always do this, philosophically. Manacoa considers that at the risk of using a scientific reason, one cannot speak of cerebral localization. A psychic phenomenon cannot admit a spatial localization. He placed humanity's biological and psychological evolution in the curve of time. Thus, the soul has no seat, and extension is not opposed to thought any more than the soul is opposed to the body. On the contrary, any focal alterations can determine disorders in very distant regions. Moreover, the body left unto its over self, it is taken up again and valorized by the first principle, the hormone, Horme, French word. May the reader pardon this leap, but we cannot pass in silence over the kinship between Manacoa and Bergson. The Manacoian Horme can, in some respect, be referred back to Bergson's Ethel Vital, which is another French word they use. For Manacoa, the human being is fusion with nature to the extent that the the harmony predominates. One thing ties us to Manacoa's doctrine. The human is a human to the extent that he is totally turned towards the future. The occasion will arise in a work that I have been undertaking for a long time to tackle the problem of history from the psychoanalytic and ontological angle. In it, I will show that history is only the systematic valorization of collective complexes. C.V. Manacoa's biology is genetic and chronogenetic. With Manacoa, the world of instincts takes priority over the world of orientation. Instincts are at the service of the hormone, Horme.
I think it's man.
Huh?
I think Horme with an accent aigu means man.
domain. It says stoicisms and certain psychological models. Hormone is a fundamental vital energy of internal drives that translate a thought or judgment into deliberate purposive action. It is the root word of harmony, HORMONE, hormone one. So it has nothing to do with man. It doesn't say anything about man. Sorry. Hold on. Come on. Here we go. Gonna look at the definition real quick. See, now it says a law. It changed it to horse for me. You bastards. Pathology results from the inversion of this relations. In a case of injury, oh my gosh, here we go. Siadesius. Nope, that's not it. Conscious or not co-knowledge. Of course, wants me to listen to a fucking thing. The word. Hurry up. Synedesis. So I think you got it. Synedesis. Coming into play in attempts to restore calm. For Manakoa, not one but several souls exist. Each cell is endowed with consciousness, with an indifferential of consciousness. Each vital phenomenon is considered to have a soul assigned to it. The opposition between soul and body is overcome. Soul and life are identical. With Goldstein, the question takes a gigantic step forward. Evolution and dissolution. Jacksonian, integration and disintegration. Moakoian, synthesis, and compensation are all rejected. For Goldstein, no absolute local symptom exists. Every organic manifestation is endowed with a special tonality, which is the fruit of global mechanisms. For him, the organism acts as a whole. In aphasic. Aphasic. I think it's aphasic. I think I got it right. Let's find out. Someone affected by aphasia. Oh yeah, it's aphasic. It has to be. Of course, wants me to watch another video. This is not too it's not consistent. It's randomly. It's all at random.
Aphasic.
I was right. Look at me. I'm getting better. Aphasic is not a man who no longer talks or whose language is altered. He is a new man. Aphasia is the dominant process, but it is essential to consider the background process of the aphasic individual. In France, Al-Jaragirari, long French name, and Hyscian developed these notions in their critical study of IY's doctrinal position. By attaching too much importance to the symptoms, EY is falsified the problems. Hold on.
Is he going potty?
No. Looks like he's about to throw up again.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. Oh, he threw up a whole freaking hairball or something. Yeah, he just threw up again. Are you done? Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Don't eat it.
We can take a break if you want to clean it up real quick.
He's not done. He's still going. Where was I at? I lost my place.
I think you just got done by attaching too much importance to the system.
Okay.
EY has
Okay.
falsified.
By attaching too much importance to the symptoms, EY has falsified the problems. By no means ought the symptoms of the to be valorized. Julian and Beret have shown, for example, that a patient in the dorsal position can present a plantar reflex, an extension. The same patient presents this reflex. Yeah, there's some. Yeah, he has bad diarrhea too. Inflection once placed in veneral. Oh my gosh, de decubitus. I don't know that word. Oh, that's stinky. It's not feeling good today, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on him tonight and into tomorrow. Remember what I told you to check his temperature? Can you check it and make sure his temperature hasn't gone anywhere?
After he's done, sure.
Yeah, of course, after he's done.
Decubitus.
I did it right. Decubitus, a posture or position of a patient lying down. Ooh, that stinks. Oh my gosh. What was the note number? It was next.
The next note number was 111.
Okay. What page?
Page 252.
Okay.
You just said ventral decubitus.
Okay. With the legs bent forward towards the thigh. This means that the symptoms must be divested of all fixity. Life, which in IE's work is found in undifferentiated states, takes on the Goldsteins of organizational level value. In his The Wisdom of the Body, Cannon has shown us the occasionally abrupt struggles that the organism engages into maintain health. Goldstein comes somewhat close to this view with his notion of vigilance, which, moreover, he borrows from Head. For him, nervous energy is a constant. As soon as one functions as affected, the other comes to its rescue. The studies done on the spontaneous correction of the oh my gosh, the humanus. Oh, I don't know this word. Well, at least I know what he's like when he's gonna throw up. So shit. And of course, it won't let me do it. It wants to. I don't get it. Like this like app is not like hemianopia or highly demonstrative. All right, here's some people's words. These are people's names. I can't do it. Aguilera and Hassian contest that the reality of elementary functions and the function of synthesis. They remind us that we ought not to confound lesions and functions. If we argue on the lesional plane, supposedly only quantitative differences exist between the so-called elementary disorder and the disturbance of the energetic function. Why give different values to those processes, which are distinguished only by their greater lesion's extent? No opposition rises between the elementary phenomenon and the apparatus of synthesis. It is the organism in its organization that gives them a more or less important value. For EY, the focal is the neurological, while the global is the psychiatric. Hassian and Aguilera, I can't say his name, on the contrary, strive to prove that the neurological disturbance is a global disturbance. Here are some of the numerous cases reported by these authors. OBS 1. Observation 1, I'm guessing. A young woman of 28 develops a hemiplegia owing to a cerebral tumor. She denies her menstruation, not recognizing the streak of blood as her own, and ignored how the stains of the bedsheets got there. She had no other mental disorders. She later developed idea of negation, wherein she claimed her entire body had decayed, and later declared that her body had immediately vanished, had completely vanished. Observation 2. A woman of 33 developed a left hemioplegia. She also denied her menstruation, behaved childishly, and spoke about herself only. Oh, drink this water. Drink that water. Okay, hold on. What was I? Okay, she also denied her menstruation, behaving childishly, and spoke about herself only in a third person. So much of EY's first position as to the problem of the psychogenesis and the psychoneurosis. What is this? What is the stance of the Gestalt theorists? They say that the mental state can reveal or create allegous pains, or parathesias by itself, without contending that the, oh my gosh, the trigeminal, trigeminal and neurologia can be purely psychogenetic. Wexberg accepts that the special psychic state can, by its presence, complete the necessary series of conditions for hatching this facial algia, algia, and this occurs, he thinks, through the intermediary of the neurovegetative system. Here we again come across the conclusion of the professor Dachuma, who recently wrote, quote, "It is at the very least paradoxical that it is not the cerebral spinal system, said to be that the rational life that is main instrument, the neurovegetative system, that of the animal life, which for ancient authors was charged with getting the visceral to agree with one another, is in fact that which ensures the unity of the human persons. Pain, added Aguilera and Hassian, is the psychic fact. It is a whole. It has meaning only in accordance with the individual who suffers it. How could we not recall Professor Laurenti's beautiful book of pain, and above all his most recent work, and it's all in French. Besides, the surgeon of pain took up this notion of totality, for he says, the patient for us remains a puppet, each string of which produces a particular movement, whereas in fact, in acts of life, the whole is in the whole. For, oh my gosh, Gestaltist, I can't say this word. It's okay. Yeah.
Gestaltist.
What?
Gestaltist.
There you are. You're up there. Let's find out what it means, though. A psychologist theorist or practitioner who studies and applies Gestalt psychology.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And neurological and the psychiatric go hand in hand. There is an intertwining of neurological disturbance and psychiatric disorders. The repercussions of the neurological fact are not limited. They are no longer a simple, oh my gosh, aurorial. Jesus Christ.
Close enough.
Aerials.
Aerials, a small specialized cushion like bud of a cactus. Okay. but instead an upheaval of the personality. What we get is an individual who is profoundly modified in his ego. When all is said and done, Al-Jarari Guerrera and Hassian, can't say their names, and in my view, commit a serious extrapolation, beginning with the phenomenological research they undertake to perform a clinical analysis. I subscribe to EY's viewpoint, as he says, quote, what defines their position most accurately seems to me, hold on a second, do 5 billion things. What defines their position most accurate seems to me less the manifest concern to conceive the neurological phenomenon as a global disorder than the real tendency to return psychiatric disorders to neurological disturbances. To the extent that Hassian and Aguragira, can't say their names, long words, beautiful word, ground their doctrine on the body schema and its alterations, they leave aside the properly psychogenetic aspects of the question. Before ending this rapid survey, I would like to discuss the work of another theoretician, Jacqueline Leconte, who in a minimum of articles has made a really vigorous attempt at solving the problem of the psychogenesis of mental disorders. Jacqueline Leconte's position. I don't know what's going on. I kind of want to close it out because I want to pay attention to him. So this might be a good place to stop. Wait, let me see. Hold on.
It's not. It's fine. We can stop.
254. Hold on. 254. Hold on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there. I want to keep an eye on him mostly.
Absolutely fine.
Okay, so we're gonna stop on 254, everybody. Sorry for closing it down. I want to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, take care of the kitty. Everybody understands, I promise.
Because I don't know. I gotta check with Cece's.
Go take care of your kitty. We're good.
I have to get bookmarks. Hold on. I think I got the bookmark. Okay, cool. 254. All right, everybody. I'm gonna pay more attention to him right now. All right, everybody. I'll let you all go.